On the Face of It by Susan Hill. It is a lesson included in CBSE Class 12 English Core book Vistas, and the presentation is made by K.D. Jha, retired VP and AEO KBS. On the Face of It is a story featuring only two characters, an old man, Mr. Lanb, and a 14-year-old boy. Both of them suffer from physical impairment. An advice to the students should read the textbook with pencil in their hand, make notes as I have made, and they should learn the technique of making notes. It will help them to prepare notes in different subjects, whether they are student of science stream or commerce stream or humanities. Their percentage of marks will suit, and this has been seen by applying this technique through the lessons of English to the students of other stream for several years. So it is a sincere advice. Here I have tried to put illustrations, related illustrations, and change of color at the change of important points, with the purpose that it will help better comprehension and long time retention of the contents. So the students should try themselves. Now about the story. Derry is a boy, 14 years old. His face is burnt from one side because a bottle of acid fell on it. Mr. Lamb is an old man who had lost his one leg in a bomb explosion during the war. Mr. Lamb lives in a big house with a huge garden all alone. One day Derry finds his house empty and sneaks into his garden, but Mr. Lamb is in his garden and both of them meet for the first time. Firstly, Derry is not interested in talking to him, but after some time he starts talking to him. This is because Derry has kept himself confined in the room because of his ugly look, and he has become introvert. He has tried to save his face from the world. Mr. Lamb extends a hand of friendship. He welcomes Derry into his garden in spite of his jumping over the wall. We know that Derry did not enter into the garden through the gate. He jumped from the wall, and therefore he should have been caught in other way. But it is the humility of Lamb. He welcomes him. He advises him to put his fear to rest and assures him of not being angry at him. Now starts talking to him without reacting to his disability. Derry, who is not used to people, thinks Mr. Lamb is pretending of not being afraid of him. In fact, you know that Derry has been keeping himself confined in room and he was not going outing, so he doubts the integrity of Lamb towards showing politeness towards him. Mr. Lamb's pearls of wisdom. First he draws Derry's attention to nature and tells him that the shape or name might differ, but the internal quality remains the same. That means person may appear different externally, but internally the element of being is the same. Beauty is relative, and what is inside is more important than what is outside. And the inner beauty, he stresses on the inner beauty of an individual. So he said, even if you receive some deformities, it is external. Internally, you are well built, and you should enjoy that and you should share that. He advises Derry to accept himself, and fear of others will vanish automatically. Whatever you are, you are. So there is nothing to be afraid of. Why are you afraid of your deformities? He tells to Derry about himself that being called Lamb does not bother him. Children makes fun of him when he moves in the society hereabout because of his lambing legs. He lambs, so children call him Lammy Lamb, and he takes it lightly, enjoyed it, and the things goes off. So he should keep his ears and eyes open. Isolating himself will not help him to win any friend. So he advises Derry not to keep himself confined, and he should come out, he should find friends. Derry accepts tentatively Mr. Lamb's friendship. Firstly, Derry is very suspicious of Mr. Lamb. He cannot believe that he does not find him repulsive. Though he is insecure about himself, yet now he is fascinated by Mr. Lamb's talk because Lamb has very warm heart and he talks very warmly, very closely, and he has won over Derry's fear. He does not want to trust him, but he is drawn towards him. That is, Derry initially hesitated. He thought that he must be pretending to be kind, but later on he confirmed to himself, no, Mr. Lamb is really a true man and he has true love for him. Earlier, he has never talked to anyone like Mr. Lamb, so his hesitation was quite right. Mr. Lamb, in spite of his bravado, is a lovely man. He lives alone. He has a big house, so many rooms, big garden, rich plantation and fruits, but still he is all alone. He keeps his gate open. He loves human being. He never curtains his windows. His house is open for all, well illuminated. He visualizes kids and people walking all over the place. So he wants to enjoy the company of people, whether they are close to him or they are moving. So he wants to see the world. He spends his time talking to the bees in his garden. Likes children, even though they call him Lammy Lamb. Now Derry's transformation. Mr. Lamb develops confidence in Derry and he invites him to come to his house to live with him. Now Derry is confused and bitter with the world. He never trusts people and avoids them. Scares people with his disabilities, scared face. Now see, I have not completed the sentences, only these are the expressions. So students are advised to note down the key points in expressions. So this will be concise, small, and main points will be there, and they may use in the exam for writing answer of the required length. Therefore, only expressions has been taken out. This is the technique I was talking in the beginning, that they should learn to take out the key concepts, main expressions, main lines from the story, and this should be done with all the subjects they study. Now Derry gradually starts talking about himself and his likes and dislikes. He wants to be loved and appreciated by others, wants to break free from the stigma of being disabled, tells his mother that he is going to live at Mr. Lamb's house, which his mother does not approve of, but he ignores her feelings and goes finally. He tells to his mother that if he doesn't go, then he will never be able to go anywhere again. So he decides to go and finally tells his mother that she should not stop him and he will be going to Mr. Lamb's house. His going back to Mr. Lamb's garden is the final step towards the transformation. That means when he decided that he will accept the invitation of Mr. Lamb and he will go to his house, he will live there. So, and he told his mother that he is leaving, and when he started for Lamb's house, this was the complete transformation of his personality. On reaching Lamb's house, he finds him dead, having fallen from the ladder. He badly feels for his death. He settles in the Lamb's house as desired by him, because Lamb wanted that Derry should live with him in his house, enjoy the fruits of the garden, the beauty of the garden, and he should share the big house. And now that nobody was behind Mr. Lamb, so Derry decided to live in his house. Now, comprehension questions. Certain questions are given over here based on the text. This is important from examination point of view also. So I would suggest, dear students, to attempt to write the answer of these questions in their notebook. I have taken all care to collect the related points at one place, and based on that only question has been given, or based on these questions those points has been collected at places. So according to the required length, they should try that they should break the content into small points, and they can enumerate if 2-3 points can be there, they should write 1, 2, 3 like that, and underline the key concepts so that the examiner may find it easy to read and they may not require more time to read the answer, and they will be benefited out of that. Like and subscribe for regular updates.